right, well, we're so glad you're with us today. And if you're watching with us online, thank you so much. For those of you here in the room, we are excited as we talk about, as Pastor Keith mentioned, what we did in 2020, but also looking forward to 2021. And if I had to have a word for 2020, I think the word for us would be adapt. And I know you probably have felt that way in your personal lives, your professional lives, but for here, there's been a lot of pivoting and stopping and turning and going different directions. And as difficult as 2020 was for a number of our families, number of individuals, there were some real bright spots that happened in 2020. And also, we're excited, we have optimism as we look to 2021. So if you've not been with us before at a Rewind Fast Forward service, then let me give you a few of the ground rules. Few ground rules. First one is, we're going to talk about some things that have happened, and there's many of the times there's opportunity to celebrate. We want you to become unruly. This is your chance to cheer, clap, children, jump up and down, whatever. Nobody's going to yell at you today. This is the time to celebrate what has happened. So make sure that you're doing that. If you're with us online, then we expect your neighbors to file a complaint. Okay, that's just where we're at, so we're expecting that. So we'll begin this way. If you volunteer in any capacity at VNC, at any level, once a month, once a week, whatever, children, youth, first impression, creative arts, online campus, pantry, on Thursdays, teach, any group, lead a life group, host a life group, sweep, clean, whatever. If you're a volunteer, if you're watching at home or you are here in the room, then stand up. Stand up for me, please. Yeah. All of you are not standing. All right. Good. Thank you so much. We know there are some of you that refuse to accept attention. We will be posting your names online later, okay? We will draw you out one way or another, Savannah. So we're going to make sure everybody knows. So I typically do not do this part when we do Rewind Fast Forward, but I felt like we need to. If you are on staff here at VNC, if you do me a huge favor, would you just stand up for a minute? And I know Keith got mad first service. It runs in the family. Yeah. You know, this, for those of you that lead teams in your professional life, then you'll understand what I'm about to say, that it has been one of the coolest things to watch this year as our team really, they have gone above and beyond, and I'll brag on them. They have gone above and beyond. There have been times in their life they've been asked to do things they've not been trained for or equipped for, and they said yes, and they did it. And they have pulled things off I didn't even think was possible. And we'll get into some of those details, but I just want to say thank you to the VNC team for all that they've done this year. So there you go. Yeah. So, yeah. So also just to remind us that our mission statement is helping people become fully devoted followers of Jesus Christ, and that we plan to achieve that through our vision statement. It's just to meet people exactly where they are and to help them navigate the next step in their spiritual journey. So we want the hopeful to become walkers, our walkers to become runners, and our runners to become soarers. And everything that we do here, every idea that gets pitched, every possible program or an idea, this is the litmus test. Does it help people become fully devoted followers of Jesus Christ? If it does not, then we don't want to be a part of it. But it's good for us to step back and look at what has happened and get to celebrate that and to cheer. So some of the value statements that we have here at VNC that you've seen out in the lobby, it's on our website, it's on the app, all these things. And one of the value statements we have is that we value gathering together as a tribe of believers and attending regular and corporate worship. Now in 2020, that looked a little bit different as our online campus went crazy and much larger, and you are watching with us online today. And if you are in the room, then this is gathering as a community of believers. And so you will see that even in the middle of the pandemic, that we actually added about 40 people on average to what we were doing in the weekly gathering as we gathered up to 1,045. That is something to celebrate, right? Okay. Now, I'm not being judgmental, but I'm going to be honest with you that your clap that I hear is that getting already tired and we just started. So you're going to need to pick it up a notch. I lose momentum, and I'll just go home. So there you go. That's better. Yeah. All right. And I am my own biggest fan. So, but we value gathering together in small group environments. We stress community with others. This is vitally important to us. We had to get creative this year because meeting in our homes was not necessarily the best idea. So online groups picked up, life groups, ministry leaders finding creative ways to get together and connect with others. Prayer groups online, everything we could do to find ways. Value statement of learning that we value giving of ourselves and serving others. And there have been countless, as you saw the number in first service, second service, the same way. For those of you online, if we could have saw you standing in your homes, we know that there's a countless number of people that are volunteering. You'll see some pictures now that we have taken about what it means to serve here at VNC. And it takes many different shapes, from landscaping, painting, to lay flooring, cleaning. You will see volunteers throughout the building, usually almost every day of the week, doing something. Our dry pantry that is here on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 1 to 3 are serving families within our community, and roughly 150 families a month come in here to receive dry goods. Now, one of the unfortunate things that happened in 2020 was a blessing for others. There was a semi-accident that happened in our community, and about 1,000 containers of Tide washing liquid was able to be salvaged, but was not able to be sold. It is here. We've been giving that out to families. Also, our marathon team, this group of 5 with other volunteers who helped. This is one of those things that the Chicago Marathon is, 45, 50,000 people gathering to run a marathon in Chicago. Thousands upon thousands of people gather to watch. That was canceled. The marathon and the mission did not. They ran the marathon in Portage, but this group of 5 raised $35,000. I mean, holy cow. What that equates to is 622 people now have clean water because of this effort. Absolutely unbelievable. So the next value statement we want to talk about is this value. We talk about living in generosity and giving faithfully. That we believe it is impossible to be a follower of Jesus and also be considered stingy. That he has called us to live these generous lives, and it just makes sense. In 2020, the generosity, the amount of income that came into VNC was a little over $3.1 million. A little over $1.3 million of that went straight to pay off the mortgage. Not just mortgage payments, but the debt. Absolutely amazing that in the middle of a pandemic, we were raising money like this that was coming in, and that amount of money went right on the principal of this loan. So as we began talking about, if you've been around VNC very long, then you know that we use what we call side-by-side as our way to raise money to help us continue to pay on the building. And we are so close that the mortgage debt we have now is 2.4. As we have moved this thing down from a $9.7 million project down to $2.4 million in the last 11 years is really amazing. Yeah, that is so cool. We are so close. We have delayed talking about the building payments and side by side a few months. If you've been around very long, we usually talk about this in the fall. We talk about March Madness and come along. We wanted to give you a break. We understand that there's probably some uneasiness in the economy, maybe your job. There's some things that you're feeling pressure on. So we wanted to say, breathe. Breathe. We've been able to put some money back in reserve to be ready for this day, to be able to give us a couple months to get out ahead and to give us as believers, as this group that have taken this on, a chance to just breathe. Now, that being said, if you've been blessed, keep going. We got 2.4 out there, right? It's just there. So we got to keep moving forward. But if you need to take a break, take a break. We're going to come back and be hitting this shortly in the coming months. But we wanted you to be aware. We recognize, we see what's happening out in our world. The next value statement is that we value the power of the personal invitation to help others with the next step in their spiritual journey. Now, that used to look like for us was just join us here, come and gather with us, we'll worship together. But many times this year, invitation was really wrapped up in adaptation. As from Easter and all of the Lent services to Fam Jam to the Christmas celebration, we're all online. Now, what could have been a roadblock in this core value in our life actually turned into opportunity. That there are many people that experience the life-changing message of Jesus in new and creative ways because of your invitation. And in fact, in many ways, we were able to reach more people because of the power of this. We were actually able to reach more people in more ways than ever before because of what we did online. The next one is we value the holiness lifestyle that is honoring to God. And even in the midst of all that happened, we were able to do one of our 2 scheduled baptisms, and 8 people were baptized, and we brought in 9 new members to the tribe that joined for us, in which we celebrate that, considering everything. And so as we kind of get a little bit more specific in some of the things, the arts department, I got to tell you, the arts department that we have benefited from, that we went literally in about a 10-day window from we had a normal church service to things are beginning to change, and about half of you showed up the next Sunday, and then by Wednesday or by Tuesday afternoon, the word was caught that everybody's got to stop. This group and our staff and volunteers turned on a dime. They are ever-living rock stars the way they have stepped up to provide to make sure that we didn't miss a beat. They were killing it. I want to point out one of the pictures of my friend Aaron. He is playing bass in the picture. He is actually on stage today that has been leading us in worship. If you did not catch him, you will see him again at the end of the service. We're going to sing a song together, but Aaron will be playing bass that day. Aaron is somebody that attended VNC for probably 4 or 5 years, stepped in the back and just was an innocent bystander and just knew that he could go home at some point. But as he was convicted, one day decided to raise his hand and said, I don't know if you know this or not, but I play instruments. And then what we realized is more than that, he is a tech guy and was in the back, and he now runs and helps and serves in a multitude of capacities and has now gone from being on the sidelines to actively participating to recruiting. If he comes up to talk to you in the hallway, it's because he doesn't necessarily like you. He wants to use you in the tech area. So I'm telling you, that's cool. I'm just kidding. He really doesn't like you. He does. So that is amazing. This is the stories we want to celebrate because there are some of you that have gifts and abilities that you are keeping in your back pocket. Get out. Let's go. We got things to do. Also, one of the ministries that we wanted to highlight today too is our children's ministry. And again, adapted on the fly. And throughout this year, they have found creative ways to continue to connect with your children. From virtual opportunities to home drop-off of goods to Fam Jam, they have gone crazy in making this happen. Our kids know more about Jesus this year because of the strength, the courage, and determination and creativity of our kids' staff. Thank you so much. One of the things that took place was Fam Jam, and usually we do Fam Jam in June, and we kept delaying in case we could do it in person, and it gets pushed later into the summer, right before school begins. And they went totally online. They flipped the script. You saw pictures of families that were using the avenue to meet in their garages, to meet on their back decks, to find different ways to collect. We had 90 families that participated in Fam Jam online. That is amazing to me. And we talked about the marathon team and their running and the number of families that they help. What we also need to know is that Fam Jam was a part of raising money, part of their mission initiative, and they accounted for, out of all those individuals that received clean water, our kids were able to raise the 22 22 people have clean water because of our kids, and so that's really pretty cool. Yeah. Our student ministry has gone through a year of transition, but however, they are thriving. They're adding more volunteers. More of you are saying, I want to be involved in stepping out and helping impact the lives of middle school and high school students. They have done a great job, and they are doing. But what I want to make sure you understand is our middle school and high school students, literally lead the way. When I talk about this, they lead the way in serving at this church. They serve in multiple capacities, from teaching in our children's area. There was a group of middle school students that were out cleaning and disinfecting in the lobby today, and they have been for weeks. You will see middle school and high school students that are serving on stage and leading us in worship. There are 2 that have been running cameras today. Our students lead us. Get that? Our students lead us. Yeah. Last year, when we came to Rewind Fast Forward, we talked about Celebrate Recovery, and that it had completed its first year. They have now completed their second year, and here's what I want you to be aware of. They have outgrown their space and now have moved into the youth center to give them more room to add more people. And Celebrate Recovery is for everyone with a hurt, a habit, or a hang-up. It is an unbelievable space and place for us to gather for those that have run across some things in their life, and they need a group, a community of believers to come alongside them, to be vulnerable, and to help us in our spiritual journey. If that is you, if you're like, I need more, then I'd encourage you to be a part of Celebrate Recovery. Tuesday night, 6:30, it's in the youth center. They are knocking it out of the park. I'm so proud of what's happening in Celebrate Recovery. This past year, we also had an initiative we did in the midst of a pandemic. We offered a service on December 6th called Blue Christmas. It happened that night. It was a gathering for anybody that had experienced loss in 2020. And so that night, that service, we gathered. Paul Johnson spoke about his loss in his life as he lost a daughter. But we partnered locally with a hospice center here in town, with Moeller's Funeral Home, Dyke's Funeral Home, and Bartholomew's Funeral Home. And we gathered, we sent out invitations to anybody that these people had served throughout the year, anybody in VNC. And 230 people gathered that night to grieve together as we head into Christmas. Now, what's really kind of cool about that, it wasn't just a service, but it was also an invitation. And out of this, we have people that are gathering. Some of you are gathering. Some of you online are gathering with grief groups that are working through their heartache, through their pain. And we want to celebrate what is taking place through the Blue Christmas time. So also in our community, one of the things that we want to make you aware of is 500 turkeys we've been a part of for years looked really different. They were not allowed to come in the building the way we always have. And so volunteers in the freezing cold and rain and whatever else they face, through hundreds of orange cones out in the driveway, created a pathway for cars to drive through, and 1,300 families received Thanksgiving boxes because you are a part of making sure people get fed. That's really cool, yeah. The Backpack and Snacks is a program that's run through our school system here in Valparaiso, and there's families that were going without. Their children were not being able to eat on the weekends or on the days they were not meeting in person for school. And so we volunteered, VNC, we took a whole month to make sure that those families are fed, and you raised during Christmas $12,000 to meet the food need for families all around Valparaiso. You also raised over $4,000 for the Hope Center, which we launched last year. And we have been serving the community through the Hope Center by bringing First Contact in, which is a ministry partner here in town that offers financial assistance and counseling to families in our community. They are now part of the Hope Center and on campus at VNC. And just a few weeks ago, we received a donation of 2,200 snow boots for children. And we've been in the process of handing those out through different agencies and apart. So in the midst of a pandemic, when most people were closing up to be protected themselves financially, preparing for whatever was coming, you have found a way to donate an enormous amount of money and to give away things of yourself to serve others. Thank you. Thank you. Now, last thing that we're going to rewind, and then we're going to go forward. But this is important because as you've come in years past, you've received paper information. There's been handouts. There's been pamphlets. There's been bulletins, all those things. Well, during the pandemic, that had to go away. And so the VNC app is more critical now than ever. Our website is more critical now than it's ever been before. And we, this year, we downloaded, our total number of downloads is now 997. 997 of you have this app on your tablet or your phone. That means there's probably about 600 to 700 of you that still need it. So make sure you do that because this is the main source of information. However, the download app is up over 600 from the year before the year it was introduced. So make sure, take out your phones at some point today and download the app to make sure that you have that. So I went back in my notes to look at Rewind Fast Forward 2020. And now this would have happened in February, pre-pandemic, pre-COVID, all of those things. And I asked 2 questions as we got ready to begin. If you, by chance, I know every time I speak or Keith speaks, it is etched into your heart and you remember everything we say. So I'll remind you, for those of you that are like, I have no clue. I asked the 2 questions. What is in store for us in 2020? And what do you think it's going to look like? Now, if we had had the answer to those 2 questions last February, we probably would have all ran for our lives. I mean, who knew? Who knew? But here's what I want to do. I want to give you 3 words as we head into 2021 that I believe can be on the forefront of us spiritually. Here are the 3 words: revive, renew, and refuel. Revive, renew, and refuel. And here's what I want us to focus on as we head into this new year. And so I'm going to take this part right here, and I'm going to say, I'm not going to put this on you. I'll just say for me personally. Now, if it applies to you, then you can own it. You don't have to stand up. You don't have to raise your hand. Just own it. But let me just say it for me. So, and I look back at 2020, I feel like maybe there have been some things I have said that I would regret. I would probably go as far as to say there have probably been some statements that I have published or posted that I wish I hadn't have. Hindsight is always 2020. Maybe in 2020, my attitude has not always been what it needed to be. That maybe in 2020, we spent so much time hunkering down to protect ourselves that we put our spiritual journey on the back burner. I'm wondering if I spent too much time being a politician, arguing about my side. I wonder if I've spent too much time being a scientist and a doctor, knowing how to handle all of this. I wonder if I've spent too much time being an economist, trying to guess of the future. Now, again, I'll put this on me. You take it and own it if it applies. But I wonder if I spent too less of time in 2020 focusing on being an authentic follower of Jesus. So let's forget 2020 and let's move to 2021. That maybe this is the year that you and I make this decision to commit ourselves to maybe reading scripture on a more of a regular basis than you have. That we are committed to gathering online or in person, taking the time each day to pray. That maybe before anything happens in our life each day, we wake up and ask ourselves this question: what is the next right decision do I need to make as it pertains to my spiritual journey? What are the conversations do I need to be in? What do I need to read? What do I need to watch? What do I need to do? That I need to make the next right decision in my spiritual journey. So as we think about revive or revival, that we need to start focusing on us. As we talk about winning the world or winning the country or our city, it will begin in this room and online as a part of this channel. That what can I do? That I pray that God will revive me from the inside out. The second word was renew. Now, as you understand that the renewal, this renewing of ourselves, that one of the things that happened in the pandemic, and I wrote this, that COVID killed community. Now, this, again, I'll put this on me. It may not be you. But here's what happened to me, is I tended to get angry over things. You want to know what makes me mad? When you go to the grocery store and there's 2 main openings and they got one locked for my safety. Locked doors make me nervous. If I can't walk in, if I can't read enter and exit, I got an issue. You know what makes me even angrier? Is when I walk in the grocery store and there are arrows telling me which way to walk in the aisle. If I need crackers, I just want to get them. In and out. I'm not in the grocery store to get in your face. I'm not in the grocery store to have a conversation with you. I want crackers and I want out. So what I found happened to me is I got angry. And what I ended up doing was grieving what I couldn't do instead of celebrating what I could do. I got angry, grieving what I couldn't do, and I forgot to celebrate what I could do. So therefore, what happened, out of anger, it led us to isolation and insulation. We decided that it's not what I was used to doing, therefore I was kind of ticked off about it. And if people didn't agree with me about that, then I kind of got mad at them. And they got mad at me. But COVID killed community. We were not made to live alone. We were made to live in community. If you are with us online and there's groups meeting online, wonderful. If you're at a point in your life that you're meeting outside, distance, even if you are bundled up, wonderful. Whatever it may take to be, that I pray in 2021 that we renew ourselves in living in community at whatever it takes. Whatever is comfortable, whatever is you feel safe, but meet, gather. We are not made to live this life alone. If you go to that app that I've told you to download, and 997 of you have, and 700 of you have not, you need to download it, but you can go right onto a link that says life groups. Get in a group. If you're not in a group, get in a group. You need to be in a group. Third one is refuel. And I've found in my life that a great way to get the most out of my life is by serving others. When you and I are serving and we're refueling ourselves by giving of ourselves, that we find purpose. It gets us out of our comfort zone. It brings us together. And one of the byproducts of serving is it creates community. We build relationships. What I have always found is when I am serving others, I have received more by serving than the recipients in which I serve. Part of that is I have very little skill. But when I am giving of myself, I get more back. And so on, again, that app, there's a place for you to click to be able to find ways and areas to serve. Our friend Aaron, who for 4 or 5 years sat in the back, waved, enjoyed it, went home. Now all of a sudden, he is a recruiter. There are those of you in this room that have gifts, abilities, and talents and time. And it's time. It's time for you to serve. I also would encourage you, you've heard us announce for the last couple of weeks, there are some mission opportunities that are happening in Indianapolis and the Rio Grande Valley. This is a great opportunity. I have not found anything that changes lives quite like anything more than serving on the mission trip. And I invite you to be a part of this. If you have questions and just want to find out more, after the service, there'll be a meeting down front. If you're watching with us online, Pastor Aaron will be putting in the chat a link where you can zoom in and be a part of the meeting. So here's a little bit of a challenge. And so I brought this prop up here to kind of help. And so the Rubik's Cube, you guys probably had this. It actually was invented in 1974, but really through patents and everything, really didn't kind of hit the marketplace in 1980. That's when I got one. I had a Rubik's Cube. Anybody have a Rubik's Cube? Everybody? Yeah, everybody probably did. There's a lot of them out there. And they were doing all that. You know, when I was a kid, if I really focused hard, and I tried this first service, and I didn't do so well. I got all of them but one. I never could get all the sides. I mean, it just was too hard. I could get one side if I really worked. I could maybe get one side. Aha. I got one side. There you go. I got all greens. That is about the best I'll do. I mean, if I really tried, I spent hours, I could get maybe two sides. And I need to have, I did this first service, I need to have a moment of confession. In the 6th grade, I had Mrs. Green, she was my teacher. They gave a homework assignment for us to take the Rubik's Cube home and to try to get all the sides. Now, this is a new modern version of the Rubik's Cube, but back then, it had stickers. I lied. I peeled every sticker off. I laid it out. I put it back together, and I got an A. I didn't earn it. I'm sorry, Miss Green, if you're alive and watching, I lied. I got to be honest, I feel better. I feel better. First service, I really felt better. This service, it's halfway better because I don't even know if she's alive. But anyway, but what I found with the Rubik's Cube is that I really get one side. If all went well, I may, if we had another hour or two, I could possibly get two sides. But never in my life have I gotten three. I've never, without taking the stickers off, got all 6 sides, ever. It's impossible. I know some of you are really good at it, but I'm not that person. So what I've come to realize is that our prayer life, I think, is a lot like a Rubik's Cube. Maybe that when you pray, when I pray, I'll just say for me, when I pray, I really understand one side of it. I get it. Because usually I'm praying something that I need, want, desire. And what has really come to light is that when we're praying and God's working, there's actually 6 sides of what's happening. Now, all I see is one. The side that impacts me, the side that I desire. So what ends up happening is when God doesn't see it my way, I tend to be more of a yeller at him like, hey, what are you doing? God, if you could just see it the way I see it. But God's always at work, and he's always working in our lives, my lives, our community, and it's really more 6-sided. So here's what I'm going to challenge you to do. Here's the marching orders for VNC. That I think our prayer is like this one-sided, but maybe we need to begin to pray to open our eyes to see the 6 sides of what God is doing in our world, life, and community. One of my favorite verses is 1 Thessalonians 5, 16 through 18. It says, rejoice always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. That we are to rejoice always, pray continually, and give thanks in all circumstances. So here's what I want us to do, that we're going to create these 5:16 prayer moments. What I'm going to ask you to do is to take your phones and set an alarm at 5:16 a.m. or 5:16 p.m. or both, whatever makes you happy. And then just agree over this next year to pause. To pause at that time. When your alarm goes off, whatever you're doing, stop. And to pray. Asking ourselves this question, what do I need to do to bring revival into my life? What do I need to do? What is God working on in me? That I just pause at this time, 5:16 a.m. or p.m., and to begin to pray at that moment. That throughout this year, you're going to see 5:16 prayer moments that'll come out on social media or email or on the app. But there are things that we need to do as a church. There's things we need to do as a believer. The song we're about to sing is this God of revival. And the bridge of this song says this, come awaken your people, come awaken the city. That as we look to go into 2021, what if we were the people praying for revival? What if we were the people praying for renewal? And what if we were the people praying for refueling?